To mark his retirement, I'm organizing a special trip to Spain with our parents. Starting today, I'll be using your platinum card for the expenses to ensure we can make the most of this celebration. I hope you understand the urgency as we need to leave soon. Wait, I'm a bit confused. Did you mean using my card? Could you explain more about the trip? Sorry, I have to leave now, but we can talk about the details when I return. Just a heads up though, the card might not work. Apparently, my husband Daniel already took it to fund a vacation with our parents. I've tolerated a lot from Daniel, but this time he's crossed the line. When he gets back, he's going to regret that decision. My name is Angela. At 35, I've built a successful career at a major company after graduating from a prestigious university. Despite my young age, I'd earn enough to support not only myself but also Daniel, who's currently unemployed, and even a potential child, though we haven't started a family yet. We've been married for 4 years, and the idea of having kids is still floating around. But while I have a stable job and a good income, I can't say I'm fully satisfied with my life. The thought of becoming a parent is just that, a thought. Daniel's unemployment, on the other hand, is a very real, pressing issue. Tonight, I'm not hungry because I snacked earlier, but that's trivial compared to Daniel's job situation. He didn't even go to the interview he had today. Instead, he stayed home browsing job sites. Daniel left his last full-time job over a year ago, and since then, he's only worked temporary part-time gigs, quitting each one after a short stint. He's currently looking at both full-time and part-time options, and I keep pushing him to focus on landing something permanent. I know timing is important, but I really wish he would find something stable soon. I know I can't push him too hard. He had a bad fallout at his last job due to a disagreement over work policies. At first, his coworkers supported him when he challenged his boss, but as tensions rose, they all sided with the boss, leaving Daniel isolated. Feeling betrayed and unsupported, he couldn't continue at the company and ended up resigning. After that, Daniel withdrew into himself. He spent weeks locked in his room, barely engaging with anyone. Slowly, he started to come around, helping out around the house, though his smiles never quite reached his eyes. After 3 weeks, he began job hunting again with a sense of optimism, determined to start fresh. But the process was harder than either of us expected. Despite his efforts and qualifications, rejection after rejection poured in, which Daniel believes stems from the bad blood with his former employer. Every rejection took a piece of him, leaving him disillusioned and questioning his own worth. The frustration built up. One day, I came home to shredded resumes littering the living room floor. It was clear that his latest interview hadn't gone well. I tried to approach the situation gently, suggesting he clean up the mess. That's when Daniel told me he was thinking about giving up on the job hunt altogether. He said there was no point. After all, we could live on my salary alone. While some people thrive as full-time homemakers, this wasn't the life Daniel envisioned for himself. It felt more like a way to avoid confronting the challenges of his job search. I could see how deeply his last job experience had scared him, and how the repeated rejections had chipped away at his confidence. I decided to give Daniel some space and support, hoping he'd eventually find his way. But in the meantime, we needed to have a serious conversation about our future and his career plans. This situation wasn't sustainable in the long term. I've always been dedicated to my work, and I knew this extended break wasn't about idling away. For me, it was a period of preparation for what was coming next. It's good to hear you're focusing on the future, I said, trying to reassure myself as much as him. Living close to my in-laws, Daniel's mom, Helen, and his dad, Peter, had its own dynamics. They began visiting more frequently after Daniel quit his job, probably out of concern. When they heard he was gearing up for his next career move, they seemed visibly relieved, but the reality was different. "The beer's running low. Can you pick some up on your way home?" I asked one evening. "Again? You're drinking too much. Maybe try to cut back a bit," I gently suggested. "Fine, I won't ask again. I'll just get it myself," Daniel snapped, his tone sharper than usual. Despite the appearance of preparing for a new job, Daniel wasn't making any real progress. His days were filled with TV and beer, and I could tell he was embarrassed about his unemployment. To protect his pride, I chose not to disclose the full extent of his inactivity to his parents. After more than 4 months without any job hunting activity, I realized it was time to address the elephant in the room. "Daniel, maybe it's time to start looking for work again. You seem more settled now. I ventured cautiously. What? It's only been 7 months since I left my last job, and you want me to go back already? After everything that happened, he replied, his voice a mix of disbelief and irritation. I could feel the tension rising, but I knew we couldn't avoid this conversation any longer. I just think the break has been quite long. Let's not drag this out, I press, hoping to push the conversation forward. Stop nagging. You can't understand my feelings when your job is going well. I have my struggles too, you know. Everyone faces work problems and relationship issues. Daniel shot back, frustration bubbling to the surface. Despite the tension, Daniel eventually agreed to start job hunting, which felt like a small victory. But the conversation had clearly upset him, and he walked out, still fuming. When things calmed down, I planned to apologize, hoping to smooth things over. Not long after, Daniel surprised me with an update. I got a job. Because you pushed me, he said one day, his voice a mix of reluctance and acknowledgement. That's great. Where? I asked, eager for more details. At a nearby supermarket, he replied. Then, with a hint of dismissal, he added, so yeah, you'll need to learn and work hard, right? I tried to encourage him. That's fantastic, whether part-time or full-time, any job is significant, but Daniel quickly brushed it off. It's just part-time, no need to work too hard. I bit my tongue, holding back any further comments. I figured that, for now, this was a step in the right direction, and maybe it would help him regain his footing. A few weeks later, Daniel came home one day and announced, I'm back. You're home early. How's the job going at the pub? I asked, mistakenly mixing up his actual workplace. I quit the supermarket job, he replied, his frustration evident. A college student there was being bossy, always telling me where to put the boxes in storage. It felt like harassment. I sighed internally. The student was probably just explaining proper procedures, something common in any job setting. But Daniel's pattern of finding and quitting jobs continued, and it was becoming clear that his challenges went deeper than just finding the right position. A year had passed since our last serious talk about work, and Daniel now tells me he's working part-time at a pub, an industry he'd never tried before. He's fascinated by it and claims he might have found his true passion. Really? That's fantastic, I replied, hoping that this time, something would stick. I respond, though I can't help but worry about the financial aspect. But isn't the income from a part-time job in a restaurant somewhat limited? That's okay, Daniel assures me, his eyes alight with a new kind of determination. I'm apprenticing right now, but I'm aiming to become independent. I plan to own my own place someday. That sounds like a solid plan, I reply, genuinely pleased to see him with a goal. Wanting to encourage him, I added, here, take this and treat yourself to something nice for once, handing him some money to support his new venture. However, the reality behind Daniel's optimistic facade soon became clear. Just 5 days after our conversation, he quit the pub job. Worse, he continued to deceive everyone around him, including his parents, from whom he accepted money under false pretenses. This revelation hit hard, and I found myself grappling with growing frustration and disappointment. Determined to address the issue head-on, I seized the opportunity one evening while he was watching a movie. Hey Daniel, let's talk, I said, reaching for the remote and pausing the film. It's frustrating when you pause at the best part. What is it? Daniel complained, clearly irritated. Daniel, you're 37 now, right? That's prime working age. Don't you think about the future? You spend all day at home, drinking and watching TV. The future? There are plenty of 37-year-olds not working. Lots of people enjoy life without a job, he retorted defensively. True, work isn't everything, but those people have something they're dedicated to. Do you have something like that? Yeah, I know you're upset about me not working. I'll look for another part-time job, Daniel replied, his tone dismissive but with a hint of concession. Though he seemed set on working only part-time, considering his history of quitting jobs and his deeper issues, I had been cautious about pushing him too hard. But now it was clear, Daniel needed to find some stability. Then, one day while I was at work, I received an unexpected text from Daniel. Dad's retiring, so we're going to Spain to celebrate. Starting today, I'm borrowing your platinum card. We're going to enjoy ourselves on your credit card. Alarmed, I stared at my phone, unsure of what to do next. I call him immediately. What do you mean you're going on a trip? Just what I said, he replies, irritation creeping into his tone. I don't understand. Please explain, I press, frustration mounting. The implications of his actions are manifold. Celebrating Peter's retirement is fine, but Daniel should have discussed the trip with me before using my money and credit card without asking. The thought that he might have told his parents he paid for it himself, using my credit card no less, only fuels my anger and sense of betrayal. This situation serves as a stark reminder that despite some steps forward, we still have deeper issues to confront. Daniel's recent actions highlight a significant moment in our ongoing struggles with responsibility and communication. As we discuss his upcoming trip to Spain, something he said caught my attention. You mentioned borrowing a credit card. Do you mean the one from our house? I ask. Yeah, why? He replies nonchalantly. Daniel, I own a platinum credit card. Contrary to popular belief, it's not just for those with high incomes. Factors like credit history and stable income play a part. It's possible to secure one in your 30s despite its high annual fee. I value the benefits and points it offers, but that card was supposed to be in my wallet. So you took the credit card from home. I press. Yeah, so I'm counting on you for the payment. Daniel responds, a bit too cheerfully for the situation. His casual demeanor and eagerness to leave make it clear he thinks he has everything under control, but the truth is about to complicate his plans significantly. What are you waiting for? We need to leave, he urges, eager to get moving. Hold on, I interrupt. The credit card you took won't work. What? That can't be right, he exclaims. It's under Angela's name, and it expires this month. It's close, but it shouldn't be an issue, he counters, disbelief creeping into his voice. You're lying. You're just trying to stop me from using the card. Daniel accuses, frustration mounting. Yes, it does expire this month, I admit. That's why I've already received a new one. Sometimes when a new card is activated, the old one stops working. I've already started using the new card, so the one you took won't work. Are you kidding me? You think I'm lying? His voice tinges with panic. If you don't believe me, I can send you the URL to the credit card website, or you can just try using the card. It would be funny to see you try to pay with a card that doesn't work. This credit card really won't work, he mutters, more to himself than to me. I can hear his parents calling him in the background, but he seems too flustered to respond. What should I do? I told them I'd pay for everything except the round-trip travel, he says. Oh, they covered the flight? I ask, realizing the gravity of his situation. Yes, Dad felt bad about covering all the trip costs, Daniel explains, a hint of relief in his voice. What should I do? I'm about to take a cab, and I don't even have money for that. That's not my problem, I respond firmly. You said you would pay for everything except the flight. Using my credit card in the first place was wrong. You should pay with your own money. How can I? I don't have any money right now, Daniel exclaims, the reality of his predicament sinking in. Daniel, you haven't been taking work seriously, I conclude, watching the situation unfold as a stark reminder of the broader issues at play. Daniel's reliance on deception rather than facing his responsibilities head-on has led us to yet another crossroads. It all came to a head when Daniel tried to impress his parents by planning a trip without having the actual means to fund it. As I hung up the phone to return to my work, I left Daniel in a predicament where he would eventually need to confess to his parents about his financial deception. Later that evening, after my workday ended, I received a call from Helen, Daniel's mother. I heard from Helen that Daniel had tried to use my credit card and lied about working. I'm so sorry for the trouble, she apologized. No, don't apologize, Helen, I replied, trying to keep my frustration in check. I'm sorry for the inconvenience with the credit card. Are you okay with the money? She asked, attempting to smooth over the immediate concerns. We'll cover the costs of this trip when we return. I'll make sure Daniel apologizes and starts looking for a job immediately, Helen assured me, though a hint of worry colored her voice. I appreciate that, but I'm considering divorcing Daniel, I confess, letting the weight of my decision hang heavily between us. Divorce? Because of this? Helen's surprise was evident even over the phone. It's part of it, I admitted. Daniel has been taking money from me for a while. I stopped giving him cash to limit his drinking. He got a part-time job and started buying his own alcohol, but his salary couldn't cover his daily expenses. He's been taking money from my wallet to buy alcohol, sometimes just $10, other times $50. Over the year, it added up. When he took my credit card for this trip, it made me realize he had no intention of changing. I understand. Should I inform Daniel about the divorce? Helen asked, her tone now somber. Could you just tell him I want a divorce? We can discuss the rest when he gets home, I requested, hoping to manage the situation more personally. The next morning, I received a call from Daniel, likely having learned about the divorce from Helen. Feeling drained, I chose not to answer. That evening, when I returned home from work, I found Daniel waiting for me in the living room, having cut his trip short. I'll start working seriously now. Please don't leave me, he pleaded, his apology seeming sincere. Seeing him apologize and show remorse was unexpected, but it came far too late. He had a whole year to change, yet here he was asking for another chance after all my repeated warnings and the countless opportunities he wasted. I'm not going to give you another chance, Daniel. You gave up on me a long time ago. My decision is final. Can you please leave? I said, standing firm in my resolve to move forward without him. The cycle of broken promises had to end, along with our path together. Please don't say that. If you won't let me stay, should I move out? He asked, desperation creeping into his voice. Only if you can afford the rent here, I replied, my voice steady despite the storm of emotions swirling inside me. Daniel fell silent, the harsh reality of his financial instability and the looming divorce weighing heavily on him. He had no money for next month's rent, let alone a steady income to depend on. As the realization set in, he seemed to shrink before my eyes. With no options left, he quietly left the house. I watched him go, a part of me wanting to offer help for transportation, but I reminded myself that Daniel wasn't a child. He needed to manage his affairs. It was a sad moment, seeing him depart under such strange circumstances. Later, after Daniel had gone to his parents' house, Helen called me. They had let him stay for the night, but told him he must leave the next day. They were worried that if he stayed longer, it might encourage his dependence on them. As tough as it was for them, they believed it was necessary for Daniel's development. When Daniel returned to our house, desperation was clear in his voice. Please help me. I've got nowhere to go and no money, he pleaded. That's the result of your actions. You need to handle this yourself, I responded firmly. Over the past year, all Daniel had done was neglect his responsibilities and do as he pleased. It was painful but necessary to deny him entry, turning him away right at our doorstep. The divorce proceedings, though tense, were expedited with the support of his parents. I'm not entirely sure what became of Daniel afterward. He's likely still hopping from job to job, crafting excuses for his situation. I thought I would feel lonely without him, but I didn't. His presence had been a constant source of stress, always walking on eggshells to avoid upsetting him. Now free from the need to accommodate his whims, I've been living more comfortably. Unknowingly, our life together had become a burden, one I hadn't fully recognized until he was gone. Relieved of that weight, I now find myself living a lighter, more authentic life, no longer tethered to the needs and failures of someone else.